this whole due diligence for us as it comes down to the ground, and that's dealing with new clients that were they could be issuers that we're dealing with, we have to think about the general rules that John told us about is perform adequate due diligence, perform ongoing due diligence, and then develop and use some form of documented criteria. I can distill it down into 3 things you'll always have to remember. I'll tell you before I start this, and I'll tell you at the end, and it's not going to take too long. Do good work, document everything, and trust your instincts. Those are the 3 things you have to do. Because if you do good work, your legal counsel will be happy. If you document everything, it actually happened. If you don't write it down, if you don't document it, it didn't happen. And trust your instincts. If you think something's hinky, you're probably right. So just keep pursuing that train of thought. So what we do at M&P, when we're looking at possibly working with an outside issuer and somebody that's new to the firm, we have a due diligence framework. We start with our executive, and basically we review the opportunity, and if we think it's worthwhile, we strike a due diligence team. We have professionals like John and a number of professionals throughout our firm in Canada who have been specially trained in due diligence, and a lot of them come sort of from the audit, the assurance side. We even have someone in insolvency, so those guys are working no matter what, so good market or bad market. So we may strike a team, it could be several, or we just may have one individual doing it, depending on the size. And then we set out a report. And the report includes but is not limited to, you can tell I talk to my lawyer a lot, the purpose, like what's this report for? What are we trying to achieve here? What are we trying to tell our executive who demanded that we go out and get the information? Depending on the audience, and I know my audience, I put the conclusions and recommendations at the beginning of my report because that's about all they're going to read generally. And if they're really, anal, they'll go in and read the rest of it. We talk about the limitations, what we can, what we can't rely on. We talk about the background of the company. We meet with management. We have interviews with them. What I like to do when I'm doing office visits, if they're in more than one location, we like to talk to their staff as well too. Is there a continuity of what you're doing? Or does the president tell you one thing and then the people in middle management and then the people that are actually working the computers and doing the other part of the business, the stories are different. That'll tell you an awful lot. We talk about our approach, how we went about doing our due diligence. We talk about our findings, the operations, the product, the investments, and the detailed financial analysis. And then it comes down to a risk assessment as well, because you can insure for most everything, but your reputational risk is on the line when you start doing business with somebody that you're just getting to know. You didn't have the advantage of having an internal referral and it's not a well-known source to you. So you have to look at the related party conflicts, any other issues that might come up, and I highly recommend you do a good job of open source due diligence. And that you can start as simply as Google, but make sure you may have somebody who's very experienced at looking at different search engines. We're very fortunate we have a bunch of ex-police working with us in our forensics team, and they're really good at digging stuff up, surprisingly good. I still can't get over what they found out about me, but anyway. So we go through this whole process, then we'll submit the report back to our executive committee. If approved, then we go through next steps, and we set up a policy and procedure internal. This doesn't have to be in our exempt market policy and procedure document that we're only too happy to share with the regulators, but it's one that we can update instantly because it's on an internal website. And so what happens if there's a change, good or bad, with a certain issuer in a product that we're working with, or a certain product, we can alert everybody. We may have a conference call, but then it's documented and it's in there all the time. Then we also provide management reports. So for our executive and how we're going to run this relationship, we talk about how we report, how we track, the training, the marketing, how we do it. So we keep a good record of everything because we want to have it in our files. Is good experience for us and something to build on with other opportunities that we work with. And if things do go offside, at least you have everything documented properly. We also have a very tight relationship. We see MNPCF and MNP LLP, so we have a core accounting firm. And quite often we may have opportunities we like to bring to our partners. So we actually have an internal, what we call an investment review board, and they check for independence issues and other things that they have to look at, whether or not partners could invest in it and have to remain independent. So we have several processes in place. And I know time's of the essence, so I'll just do one quick case study. This was seemed to be a very professional group of developers that were brought to us 7 years ago. And there's some meaning in that. And it came from a very well-known business associate, one of my partners. These gentlemen appeared very experienced, very professional. They had a great package. It had a compelling product, a good IRR. They seemed to have everything. They had a long pedigree, according to them. And so we started doing our due diligence. But I just couldn't get my head around how eager the oldest guy was about 60, and he just had the check in his hand when I first met him to get going on the engagement. That's a red flag, I thought. You know, there's got to be something wrong with that. So we did a forensic background. He came up clean. We didn't have any problems. But over the weekend, I kept thinking, you know, his friends call him something else. He's got a nickname. And I started playing around with nicknames, and I just Googled. And this is when the provinces weren't sharing what was going on from one regulator to the other if you were sanctioned. And this guy did have a different name 7 years ago, and he was sanctioned because he had basically ripped off elderly people and could no longer be an officer or director forever in any company. And he was severely fined, too. So I was really happy I did that, you know, so it came up. So trust your instincts, and just to finish up, just tell you, do good work, document everything, and yeah, trust your instincts. And that's good due diligence. Thanks.